Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'm going to give you my part 2 installation on how to install Helibars on a previous generation Honda Goldwing. But I want you to stay tuned to the very end of the video. I want to give you my summary and just talk a little bit about the level of difficulty and what I think about the Helibars for the Honda Goldwing. So let's get started. In this portion of the video, I'm going to attach the left handlebar riser to the triple clamp by using the two 10mm bolts that I removed from the original handlebars. Use a 14mm socket and extension to reattach the 10mm bolts to the triple clamp. The left and right risers will be torqued back down to 20 foot-pounds. So now that I have the arms installed on the right and the left side, now I can work on getting the Helibars actually installed. So with the words Helibars facing the rider, they're going to mount onto the arms like so, and I just need to put in the pinch bolts. So to install the crossbar clamp, we're going to install the left upper and the right upper crossbar clamps. Get these opened up. So we're going to put these clamps on the front, and we're going to use the 4 bolts that came out of the kit. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you want to do a dry fit. Attach the crossbar to the right and left risers using the left upper and right upper crossbar clamps. Secure the crossbar to the risers with the 4 bolts that came in the kit. Lightly tighten the screws at this time. You should be able to read the same on the right and left sides. Move the crossbar assembly left to right to adjust. There should be a small gap between the outsides of the cap and the crossbar. Notice there is an up arrow on the caps. Secure the crossbar clamps to the crossbar. Lightly tighten the screws at this time. So now that I have the bolts, I just have them snugged in. I don't have them torqued down yet. I just want to get it set up, and then we can come back in the end to torque down the bolts. So I have my dampers already installed inside of the tubes. One is labeled right. The other is labeled left. So we're going to put the right tube inside of the right arm, and we're going to put the left tube inside of the left arm. So we need to install the handlebar tubes up to the line. To get the handlebar tube through the clamps, you got to remove the bolts first. If you don't remove the bolts, you can't get the arm through. So we're going to push it through until it comes to the very end, And it also has a line to show you where the stopping point is going to be. You can actually feel it kind of drop in. Now I can put my bolt through. And I'm not going to fully tighten this down. I just want to get it installed. Get the bolt snug down. Then I can make my final adjustments. I'm going to do the same to the right side. It's labeled right. I'm going to take out these bolts on the right side. Slide in my tube. It has a line that tells you where to stop. Stop at that line. And I'm going to place the bolts back down. Again, I'm not going to make my final adjustments until the very end. I just want to get everything started. So now I can work on running the lines up underneath the arms on both sides and then getting the switch housings and the reservoirs installed back on the handlebars. I'm taking the clamp that's on the left side. I'm taking that clamp. We're going to put that onto the new handlebar. So we're going to take the clamp and it's going to mount onto the handlebar. And I just want to get this started so I can rotate the tubes to the proper position once I get this thing started. I'm just going to let that hang there for a moment. I can always rotate this thing. So I'm going to take out this tube. Let's pull it out. Before I run the tube through the arm, I'm going to take my bar, and we have a little bitty drop down notch, and we have a little notch on the bar. So we're going to take that hole and drop it into that little notch. Then I'm going to take my clamp and then I'm going to take my little screw and tighten the switch housing onto the handlebar tube, like so. So we have the housing on the clamp. So now I'm going to put back the housing. Underneath, you got 2 spots for the screws. On the very front, that screw is real long and this other screw is shorter. So we're going to take our screws. We're going to take that very long screw and it's going to go there. Take our screwdriver. We're going to tighten this down. We're going to take our other screw and we're going to go back through the bottom of the switch housing. So we have a total of 2 screws that hold the switch housing. So now we have the switch housing onto the handlebar tube next, and I'm going to slide it onto the handlebar tube, and next I'm going to push the handlebar tube onto the Helibar. I'm going to push my tubes all the way through to that line. You want to make sure that you're on that line. And now I'm going to reinsert my pinch bolts. And I just find it easier to put the switch housing and the clutch reservoir back onto the handlebar tube before putting the tubes back through the bike. So we'll make the final adjustments once we get everything make sure that that tube is at the end of the bar, at the line. In this portion of the video, I'm taking the hydraulic clutch line along with the wire loom coming from the switch housing and routing it underneath the left handlebar riser. Just underneath the riser is a channel shaped like a U. Run all of the wiring down the channel and secure them with the cap and screw that came in the kit. The caps are labeled right and left. Secure the left cap underneath the left handlebar riser. Install the top screw first and then tighten the lower screw. Install the left heater grip before installing the lower cap and screws. Before installing the heater grip, clean the inside of the grip as well as possible, removing leftover glue pieces. Soak the inside of the heater grip with rubbing alcohol as well as the handlebar tube. I'm going to take the cover, one that says L for left, and then I want to put a bolt right through that top. So I'm going to take my 3mm and feed it through the threads. Going to take my second bolt and bolt it underneath. Being very careful not to lose this bolt. Going to take my 3mm and I want to tighten down these bolts. Now I can reattach the end bar weight to the left grip. After reattaching the left end bar weight, I'm going to remove the right end bar weight from the handlebar tube. I find it easier to reattach the right front brake and the right throttle back to the handlebar tube. I find it easier to reattach it off of the bike. So I'm going to take off the handlebar tube and slide the rear brake back onto the handlebar tube. Remove the two upper pinch bolts from the handlebar tube. Next, I'm going to reassemble the right brake mounting bracket off of the bike. This will make it easier to slide the brake assembly back onto the handlebar tube. To reassemble the switch housing is very simple. You have a little notch at the ceiling of the switch housing and you want to line that little notch up with the hole that's on the right handlebar tube. So with the switch housing upright, you cannot see it, but if you flip it upside down, there's a little notch. So insert the tube, rotate the handlebar tube until it drops into that slot. You'll feel it drop in. Once it drop in, you can take the clip that's inside of the switch housing and reattach the clip using the screw that holds the clip to the handlebar tube. So as you can see on the right side, the throttle cable just slides right on, where the left side, you have to force it on. So we're gonna take that throttle cable and we gotta connect it to that latch. So to keep the bar from moving, I'm gonna take my bar end weight. If I try to install this without the bar end weight, the grips keep sliding. So I'm gonna tighten this down, put the bar end weight back on to the handlebar tube. We got to make sure that that hole lines up with the notch that's located inside of the roof of the housing. And we got to put the throttle cable back in the track. So now I'm going to take the cable, go through that little slot. This is a view of what the throttle cable looked like inside of the cable stay. You have one cable coming over the top and another cable coming underneath the bottom. Both cables must be connected. There is another way to take off the handlebar tube without removing the throttle cables. I will explain this at the end of the video. I'm going to temporarily put my screws through the handlebar tube. Now I can rotate that arm to the roof. In this portion of the video, since I removed my throttle cables to remove the right grip, I'm just reattaching the lower and the upper throttle cable, and I want to make sure that the throttle is over in the track within the switch housing. I can then screw the clip that holds the handlebar tube in place. I'm replacing the Phillips screw, and then I can clamshell the switch housing closed and put back the two original screws that I use to open the switch housing. Roll the throttle up and down to verify that the throttle returns back to its normal position with the proper tension. Next, you want to put back the two Phillips screws that are used to hold the switch housing closed. There is a Phillips screw on the left and a Phillips screw on the right. Place the heated grip grommet back into the stay that is located on the back of the switch housing. Now that I have the switch housing attached to the handlebar tube, I can slide the right brake assembly onto the handlebar tube. Insert the handlebar tube into the upper clamp. Next, reinstall the two pinch bolts that came in the kit. Tighten them using a M6 hex. Roll the handlebar tube up or down to adjust the brake lever height. Temporarily snug the handlebar tube pinch bolts. The final torque settings will be 12 foot-pounds. Place the plastic caps that came in the kit inside of the handlebar tubes on the right and the left side. Retighten the brake perch mount assembly. It would be a good idea to just snug the bolts down until you can make your final adjustments. I just want to get the bolts snug. With the exception of the throttle cables, run all of the wires underneath the handlebar risers within the U-shaped channel. Secure them with the cap and screw that came in the kit. Tighten the top bolt first, then the second bolt. Use the black plastic zip ties that came in the kit to secure any loose wires along the handlebar risers. Reattach the cable stay that holds the hydraulic lines and the wire loom above the triple clamp. Next, I'm turning the handlebars right and left to a full lock to verify that I have enough slack on all of the lines and the throttle cable. If any of the lines are pulling, loosen any cable stays, then readjust. Using a 14mm socket, tighten the 4 riser bolts back down to 20 foot-pounds. Helibars recommend adjusting the bars to suit your initial desired position before installing the instrument and dash panel. Depending on where the bars are adjusted, you may need more slack or have too much slack and need to readjust the cables, hydraulics, and the looms. Next, reattach the black plastic fork cover over the handlebar risers. Put back the 2 original Phillips screws. Put back the instrument cluster using the 4 8mm original sockets. Verify that the speaker wires will move freely along the top right and left side of the instrument cluster. This is important when reattaching the speaker grill. There is enough clearance underneath the crossbar tube to reinsert the meter panel. Slide in the nose of the meter panel. When the meter panel is in position, plug in your tweeter speaker wires and also plug in the wiring harness underneath. After making your final adjustments, torque the Helibar bolts back down to the manufacturer's specification. Caution, they must not be over-torqued. Over-tightening the hardware can lose integrity. You can verify the torque values by looking inside of the Helibars installation manual. Place the black caps inside of the handlebar tubes. So in this portion of the video, which is the last part, we need to bleed the brakes from the brake reservoir and the clutch. So since we added the banjo bolts and the brake lines extension, we need to close everything off and then we're going to bleed the brakes. So first thing I'm going to do is take my 12mm and tighten the bottom of the bolt on the very bottom. And then I want to tighten the top bolt with my 12mm. I'm going to remove this rubber boot and I'm going to tighten this bleeder bolt. And then I need to do the same to the other side before we get into the bleeding. So next I'm going to take a little tube and run this inside of a plastic container so I don't spill brake fluid everywhere. Just going to put this on the end of the bleeder valve. I need to remove the cap on the the brake reservoir. Going to remove those 2 bolts. And I'm going to remove my switch. Just going to set that to the side. Next, I'm going to take off this diagram. This rubber boot. And we're going to be going back with some number 4 DOT. Take that out. Press the brake in only about a ½ an inch and then release quickly. Do this several times and you will notice small bubbles starting to appear. This is recharging the cylinder. After the bubbles disappear, open the bleeder while holding a paper towel over it and depress the brake lever halfway and close the bleeder before releasing the lever. Use a 8mm wrench. After a couple times, the brake should recharge. Release what little air is in the system. Sometimes it takes 6 or more bleedings. Just keep repeating the same process until the brake lever gets hard. Just remember, pump several times, open the line, close back the line, release the brake lever. Pump several times, open the line, close the line, release the brake lever. And just continue to do this until the brake lever gets hard. And just repeat the exact same steps on the left side with the clutch reservoir. Do not let the brake or clutch fluid drop low or it may suck air. Refill the reservoirs with number 4 DOT4 brake fluid. And this will conclude the installation of the Helibars on a previous generation Honda Goldwing. But I want to talk to you a little bit about why I decided to do a video installing Helibars. The main reason is that I could not find one decent video on YouTube on how to install Helibars on the previous generation Honda Goldwing. And this is actually the second time I've made a video installing Helibars. The first video was for my 2021 Honda Goldwing DCT model. If you guys missed that video of the install for the DCT model, you can click on the link in the top corner and it'll walk you through how to install Helibars on the newer style Honda Goldwing. But I could not find one decent video on YouTube on how to install these Helibars. So I wanted to do this video for all of the previous generation Honda Goldwing owners that have heard about Helibars or have been considering putting Helibars on your Honda Goldwing, but maybe you didn't want to pay the expensive labor charge of having the Helibars put on. I mean, the Helibars are expensive. You got to pay for the Helibars. Then you have to pay for labor if you want to have them put on. So I decided to do this video for all of the previous generation Honda Goldwing owners. Now, keep in mind, this is the first time that I've installed Helibars on my previous generation Honda Goldwing. So how difficult was it getting the Helibars installed? Well, when you're used to working on automobiles and you're used to working on bikes, it's really not that big of a deal. It's really not that hard if you are a hands-on kind of person. One thing I want to mention about the instructions, when you purchase the Helibars, it's going to come with 2 books. One book is going to be the instructions. It's going to give you a lot of information in this instruction guide. And it's probably one of the reasons why I couldn't find any videos on YouTube on how to get these things put in. It is a lot of information, pages of a lot of condensed information. Okay. Now, and then they give you a second booklet, which is also, it just gives you information and it gives you pictures. Okay. Gives you a lot of pictures. So there's a lot of information and it's very intimidating. So a lot of people that have the Helibars either probably paid a dealership to put them on or paid somebody that just had knowledge on how to put them on. But when you're looking at these directions, they are very intimidating, and even it was a little bit intimidating to me. When I did my install, I did not go down the line of the installation instructions. In my opinion, the instruction booklet could have been updated. For example, it needs a section that says how to remove the left handlebar, and it should have a section for that. It should have a section for how to remove the right handlebar. It should have a section for just the torque values. It should also have a section that lets you know the name of each part. So the information is in the booklet, but it's just all condensed. It's random. So in my opinion, the booklet needs to be updated, and it just needs to be sectioned off, like how to remove the switch housing. So the book should be sectioned off, and it should just have the removal procedures, but instead it's all condensed in. So I did not go down the line of each line in the book to do my install. And the point that I'm trying to get to is that when I remove the right switch housing, once I remove the right switch housing and I open up the switch housing, you got two screws that hold the switch housing. Once I opened up the switch housing, I was trying to figure out how to get the right throttle grip off of the handlebar. So in the video, once I open up the throttle housing, I remove the throttle cables. You have two throttle cables inside of the switch housing, one at the top, one at the bottom. And then I took off the bar end weight. I was then able to slide off the right heater grip, which was not a big deal for me. Once I did that, Helibars saw the video and called me, and they said that I did not have to take off those cables. They said the best way to take off the right hand grip was once you open the switch housing, the second step would have been to take off those two bolts, the two mounting bolts that holds the right riser on the right hand side. Just take out that right riser, and I could have slid the handlebars out of the grip. So I took the long way around, which it was in the directions, but it was one line. A lot of information. Again, everything is just is condensed in. So I could have removed the right throttle without even taking off the cables. The good thing about the installation is that if any of you ever needed to change your right grip, now you know how to take out the right grip. You got to remove those throttle cables. So a lot of times when you go down one path, you'll learn something totally different that may help you down the road. So there's always a silver lining behind every cloud. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys. But to summarize, how difficult was it to put on the Helibars? It really wasn't that bad. If you're used to turning wrenches, it's really not that big of a deal. But a lot of you are not going to want to read all of these directions, which is probably why I couldn't find a video out there on how to put these things on. And many of you will watch the video. So hopefully the video will help you guys out when it comes to the installation. Also, if you decide to buy Helibars after watching this video, let Helibars know that you saw my video and that you decided to purchase your Helibars. Well, anyway, if you guys have any questions or any comments or anything you would like to add to this video or something that I missed, be sure to put it down in the comment section. I will include in the description of the video where you can pick up the Helibars for your Honda Goldwing. And last but not least, Once you get your Helibars set to your comfort level, reference their manual and make sure that you torque your boats back down to their specifications. Always verify through the booklet on their torque values. But anyway, if you guys like the video, click the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you a little bit later out here in the Caliente garage.